Test, test. How's the buzz?
hard. Well, actually, he is kind of hard to embarrass. Did you? I didn't hear myself. Oh. Yeah, how'd that happen?
And that will give you a lot more. I was wondering why.
A lot more give and. Hey, Charles, we tested our Zoom call. That's okay. We called Ian. We have a Zoom meeting already open that he's just keeping open. And Matt's doing the welcome. I think Greg is also going to mention a little bit, but I didn't have that in the notes just because of John wasn't as familiar with it, but you are, so I think it would be quite natural. Mm-hmm.
Check, check.
Let's just review. Charles is going to have a handle. He's going to be saying, yay. Let's call Ian. And then he can come up here, right?
Yes. So the camera that we're using for the call is the laptop camera. Yep. So from the
tell you a secret that I've learned. Nobody knows everything. We all get caught up in what we think and believe it's the truth. But mostly we don't have the answers. And life can feel like an unsteady boat, drifting away from the land, making us feel alone. It is love that will carry you home. It is kindness that holds back the storms around you. It is patience sitting right beside the doubt. Oh, the only truth is what we do with right now. Something I finally come to realize: everyone has to compromise, and we can't do it all at the same time. It just doesn't work. But we can't spend our whole lives worrying about things out of our control, and then we find that life was built for change, and we have to let it all go. It is love that will carry you home. It is kindness that holds back the storms around you. It is patience sitting right beside the doubt. Oh, the only truth is what we do with right now. Thank you so much, y'all. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful to be here with you this morning. And I just am here actually last minute because our dear friend Chris, who usually does your music, is sick with COVID. And so I'm just really lucky to be free today. I was able to come and step in, and yeah. And I love y'all so much, and I'm just so happy to be here with you, especially in this tender and beautiful time where you're, it's a joyful time, and it feels very tender as transitions, can be. You say goodbye to something, and you say hello to something else. And and so this song, and the second song I'm gonna play for you, and then we'll get the service rolling. Is a song called Right on Time, and some of y'all might remember this one, but it's this one is I really do believe we are all nature unfolding, y'all. I love that idea anyway, and that really, even when we feel behind schedule, that our idea of what the schedule is limited. I wish for you to be free from doubt. When you feel left behind or left out, when the world seems brighter everywhere else, and your mind is lost inside a wishing well. Right on time, you are right on time, you're right on time. Remember, the heart is a tender thing, restless and hopeful, it cries and sings. And sometimes you need shelter and a space to be a little tough, not tough enough, a little lost at sea. And when everyone is racing and you join in, if you can, try running with a smile, 'cause there is a danger in going too fast, or getting too far ahead can set you back. Right on time, you are right on time, you're right on time. You are right on time, you're right on time. And when you're tired and on your own, cried so many tears, they're all gone. When there's nothing you haven't tried to fix this uncertain road. Oh, when everywhere you look, you see regret, caught up in the past and what might have been. What we can never know will make our heads spin. A little love, a little trust, a lot of forgiveness. Right on time, you are right on time, you're right on time. What if we're right on time, we're right on time, we're right on time.
All right. I got helpers, because they are cuter, so you'll pay attention. My name is Matt Milkey, for those that don't know me. I'm here just to say welcome, everyone. Thank you for being part of Fabric, whether it's your first time or your 500th. I don't know, Greg, how many weeks are we at? You probably have the count. But one thing I just really enjoy about Fabric is kind of the philosophy that we just need to ask better questions. This isn't, for anybody that's not familiar with Fabric, this is not the place to be to come and get all the answers. But we are really good at asking questions and sometimes saying, well, oh, let's ask a better question. And really today, that's what today's all about. We're just gonna pepper Greg with questions. Another thing that I love about Fabric is how much kids are appreciated at Fabric, which is, again, part of why I'm bringing these guys up here. Just the kids programming with Heidi and Della and Jen and everybody else that helps out is just wonderful. Kids are valued and welcomed and an integral part of our community. We like to take a moment at the beginning just to kind of center ourselves a little bit. Life is hectic. I'm tired. They have too much energy. Just take a moment to kind of center ourselves. Then we'll send the kids off to have fun. And these guys are going to help me with the centering practice, right, Naomi and Luke? All right. So we're going to take a few deep breaths just to calm ourselves. And then, and all you kids need to really help, we are going to get our wiggles out. And we're going to wiggle real, real hard. And if you have an adult next to you and they're not wiggling, you got to make them wiggle. All right, so we're going to do 3 big breaths and then 3 giant wiggles. All right, you kids ready to help? All right, 3 big breaths. One more. And that's right. Come on, Luke. All right, we got some standers over here. Nice. All right, thank you, everyone. Kids, I think you can head off to have fun. Get your wiggles out all morning long. I'm glad Naomi and Luke came up with me because I was worried they were going to chicken out and I'd have to wiggle by myself, but well, again, welcome everyone. For anybody that is first time or newer, just to orient you a little bit, there is close to bottomless coffee and water and tea over there. When you've bottomed it out, there's bathrooms around the corner to your right. There's also gender neutral bathroom and bathroom with a changing table. Follow signs for those. Our youngest, who wasn't up here, we change him on the bench outside the principal's office, so that works too. Don't sit on the bench though. We've got a Sunday paper that'll help to just orient you to what's going on. If you don't have them, there's some over there, conveniently by the coffee. Or if you raise your hand, we'd even bring you one, delivery. Within there, there's also a communication card. You can get yourself on our mailing list if you're not on it. We don't spam heavily, but it's kind of weekly email to tell you what's going on this week. And then there's also just a space to write down anything that's going on in life that you want somebody else to be aware of or pray over or anything like that. So really it's there to just communicate whatever you want. You can leave feedback. You can tell Greg to go away in 2 weeks, and he might listen this time. And then today is not just today, but we're really in a special time for Fabric. One of the metaphors that we use a lot is, Fabric is weaving ourselves and others, and the third strand that we sometimes call God, I've listened to Greg use that a few times, into kind of a fabric, and that's where our name comes from. And we talk about special times being like putting knots in our fabric. We've got this, lovely jumble of fabric with knots all over it over there. And fabric is in kind of a knot time right now, as Greg is transitioning out and looking to new leadership for kind of the next chapter of Fabric. We, after the service today, are voting as a group on whether to call Ian McConnell as the next leader of Fabric. So that's just a special moment, and thank you to everyone who's being here. It's been a 2-year process, and honestly, everybody has been a part of it. The search team has been amazing. There's a transition team. There's Greg's sabbatical. Even the people that weren't formally in leadership. There are so many people that gave input to this whole process. So thank you to everyone for being a part of what a long journey it's been, and for being here today to kind of have a not moment to celebrate what that has been like. So. Anybody that considers themselves a regular of Fabric is welcome to vote. We don't have membership where you sign on the dotted line. So if you say, yeah, I'm a regular Fabric person, you can vote. So stick around after that. And now we're going to, I think, just work on asking better questions, right? So I don't know where Greg is or if there's other stuff going on. Oh yeah, thank you. Say hi to people. I didn't think of any sort of icebreaker. Talk about what it's like now that we actually have a little bit of winter in Minnesota. Thanks, everyone.
Keep me waiting, keep me wondering for a while now. If I make it, let me flounder in all the time I waste. Leave me pacing, leave me groaning, 'cause the floors are lay here moaning. Just give me up to all I could find and face. But warm me winter and keep me off the shelf and choke what's bitter in haggard strains of felt. Just hold me winter and leave me in your wealth and take what's bitter. I'll keep what's drained in hell. Ooh. Fully go away. Take these summers and their cold days. Take my boredom, no, my old ways are leading me to songs of such solemn pace.
Good morning, Fabric. Great to see you all. Have a seat. Refill your coffee. Where did I even put my coffee? Oh, well. I put it right here where I was going to kick it over. That's where I put it. Good to see you all today. First of all, I was outside welcoming people, so I might have missed it, but you all got introduced to Ellis, who's played with us quite a few times. I don't know. Ellis has fabric in her soul. I think we all do, and I love the way you bring it out in music. So thank you. Ellis was well, while you've been with us many times, you always look forward to it. It's kind of a last-minute thing. Did people hear that already? No. Oh, okay. So, Chris Tripolino. He's feeling well, but has COVID, so we'll get him back. So thanks for doing this. And I love the fact that we can be so flexible. And it's fun to see you all enjoying each other so much. I mean, that's community. We make community this way and then go off in your groups and stuff like that. The vote after the gathering, Matt told you about it. You'll hear more about it, but we'll be taking a look at Ian McConnell for being the new lead pastor here. And I've known Ian somewhat for a long time, before he was even in seminary. And I just think we're really lucky to have found him. I think he's a fantastic guy. Really excited to pass the reins on over to him and trust him to you and you to him. It's going to be great. So that's kind of my cue to how you might want to vote. But so who was it? Sage said, well, I'm going to vote for you, not him, as a joke. And I said, well, actually, voting for him is a vote for me because, yes. So that's good. Anyway, today we are doing something I have never done in all my years here, and that is do a Q&R session with you guys. I got a few remarks just to kind of open it up. But Q&R means question and response. You're probably all familiar with Q&A, question and answers. I'm really short on answers, and I don't trust most of them that I have. So I like to think of them as responses. And often the responses is something I'll dig into just in a little bit here. But it all comes from this idea that I've had since before I started Fabric, and kind of fits in with kind of my suspicion of not only answers but certainty, but rather conviction. But I consider myself as a speaker on Sunday morning to be the initiator of a conversation. This is my pitching mound, all right? So I pitch from my pitching mound, and you kind of expect me or someone else, Melissa, others, Chris Littlehigh, to be up here. And when we are up here, we aren't telling you the way it is. We aren't telling you this is what you're supposed to believe, this is what you're supposed to do. But we try to dig into some of these conversations that matter, that we've spent a lot of time kind of listening to ourselves, listening to the world around us, listening to you guys, sort of thinking, I think this is something we need to be talking about. This is something that it's important enough for all of us to dig into. So we try to do enough work to have something to say about it, to bring an important conversation to you and open it up with enough ideas that it then can be in your hand. And we trust you with that, all right? You don't need to listen to what I say and go away saying, boy, I'm sure glad I know the answers to this, but rather, all right, I have a lot of momentum, information, ideas, maybe some passion around these things, and I'm going to figure out what this means in my life right now. And if you're like me, what it means in your life right now will be different next year and next year and next year, which is why I'm kind of suspicious about certainty. Anyway, so that's kind of what that's about. So I am at my pitching mound here, and you're going to get it. Well, we're going to kind of reverse those roles a little bit. But I, want to get you, wrestling with some of this stuff. And wrestling is an important word with all that. So question response, you're welcome. Your questions are welcome to be challenging, all right? It isn't like, just, ask what you're interested in, and I'll respond according to it. So the gospel according to Greg isn't like, well, this is the truth about everything, but it's just kind of my perspective on things. It's a slightly heretical way of saying that, right? Which is kind of like me. But the point is that when I'm up here at the pitching mound, you're at the plate, right? So I pitch to you. Good catch, Mike, thank you. But Mike's going to swing at that, right? And he's going to decide what he wants to swing at, and the ball's going to go where he hits it, not where I pitch it. And that's how it is, right? Can I have that back? Thank you. So that's how my pitching mound. All of us here that speak, we pitch from our pitching mound. I hope most of you are probably pretty familiar with my pitching mound. You could probably articulate it about as well as I could. This is what kind of Greg's about. And I don't pitch from there so that you will have an identical pitching mound. No, I do it so that you can be at the plate and you can put the ball into play into your life and the community and the world around you. So that's pretty important. The other thing to know is, like, this is not hardball, all right? I am not pitching to try to strike you out. I like to give nice, easy lobs, right? So you can really play it back. And exactly what Daryl did with me there was, today we're reversing those roles, right? So I'm at the plate, and you guys are going to be pitching to me. And that's what we want to do with this pitching mound and what we're going to talk about. And so question and response, not question and answers, and even better questions. We took our family to the Bakken Museum up by Lake Calhoun. Yeah, recognize it there. Oh, Thank you. Yes, Bidet Makovska. I got it right on the slide. So if you don't know, it's like Museum of Electricity, kind of coming from Medtronic's origins. The Lillehei family has some history going back from the early days when Bachmann was discovering the pacemaker. Chris can tell you some good stories about that. But it's also even more than a museum about electricity. It's a museum about questions. And they would say that they figured out what they figured out because they learned to ask better questions. And they have a great display when you go in there. One of the first things you're going to run into is this question reframe thing. And I'll pop into the next slide. And at the very bottom there, this is what it says. Great innovations aren't always solutions. Sometimes the key to innovation is an ambitious, frame-changing question that sends us down unexpected paths. The right question helps shine a light on the roots of the challenges we face and helps us see where opportunities lie. When tackling big problems, you need to ask big questions. I was ready to sue them for copyright infringement. Like, this is so Fabric. But it is wonderful to know that a lot of people are thinking this way and understanding that way. I mean, our biggest roadblocks aren't because we don't know the answers, but because we don't know the question yet. And we got to keep finding new questions. And so this is kind of an opportunity for us to do this. So the whole community is an opportunity to find what are the questions that really matter. And let's not worry about the answers, but let's ask these questions and see where they lead us. And usually what a good question does is leads you to an even better question. So that's kind of an important thing to do. Anyway, so if you go on here, they have a couple examples. Like, these are some places where we're stuck as a society because we just ask bad questions. Like the questions, how can we use cars less often? Or how can I make less garbage? Those are things, we need to use our cars less often. We need to make less garbage because we're drowning at one and we're just consuming our planet with the other. But they're kind of like, I don't know how to answer these questions. So they just give you an example of some better questions, like, why are we so dependent on cars? That's a great question reframe. It's one that I maybe could make some progress on. Or, when does something become garbage? So good examples, I think, of what that better question concept is all about. So at this point, Melissa, you want to come down? We were going to have like a little table or something.
Yeah.
But you can make yourself comfortable. I don't know.
Can I just sit over here?
Sure.
Does this work? Or stand over here?
Yeah. Anyway, so I would invite so what are you thinking about? What are some questions you have? If you look on your Sunday paper, the back of it, I didn't bring mine up here, but on the back of it, you'll see a whole lot of our fabricisms, themes that have recurred over and over and over that we keep coming back to, that we find have been instructive in helping us find our course and ask the better questions. So, some of those might tip off some things. And so feel free to do that. And there are no dumb questions, no bad questions, no wrong questions.
I have an illustration for that.
Okay.
One of the things on here is this one, if you twirl it around, it says vision leaks. And I have to confess that until maybe it was even this year, I thought that was a bad thing or a good thing. Or I get confused, like, do we want it to leak or do we not? So tell us about vision leaks.
Yeah, so what does
do
that
you
mean? I mean, that's one you may not hear so much, but it's something we practice as leaders constantly. And that is, I think, truly, I believe, as a leader of a community like this, the only thing I have, well, there are really only two things I have. One is my vision, the vision for this community, and the other is your trust. So I need to have a vision, I need to earn your trust. But the vision is, we lose vision easily. I mean, you guys are all busy. This is not your job to be thinking about what Fabric should be about and what we should be doing and how we should be doing it day in and day out. That's my job, right? So I don't expect you to do that. And what people do is, vision turns into tasks really quickly. We have this vision, I agree with it, and it means I do this and this and this. But the vision gets replaced with this and this and this. And, and it often just kind of gets lost. So a reality as a leader is to realize that vision leaks. And so if these things, there's some elements about Fabric that are important, how do we repeat them constantly to keep that vision full, knowing that it's always leaking?
I've got some new questions coming in
already. You got
already.
some coming in.
Yeah.
So that would lead to another thing which isn't on here, but for me is called creative redundancy. How do we do a whole series on relationships to help us keep our relationships vision-oriented, but not just be repeating ourselves?
Okay, here's one. What are the biggest, most important takeaways from the Bible or God that we should try to make sure our kids grasp as they grow up?
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
I don't want softball. Yeah, but also, like, if it's big enough to bowl me over, that's kind of that's a big question. Mm-hmm. How would we answer that? I'm trying to think of what's at the heart of that question. Is I hear someone saying, "I want my kids to grow up with, can we call it a faith, with a three-stranded view of the world." And for those, I know there's some new folks here today, and you probably have no idea, like, what are these people talking about, and why are they doing this? But we talk about our three strands of self and others in that third strand: God, Yahweh, Elohim, whatever your language, the higher power, the divine, that which is beyond us. And are weaving our lives together. And I want my kids to grow up doing that. And I found that, this is true for me and probably for many of you, that I found that in the Bible was a major source, a major place that helped me put those pieces together. But one of my greatest fears is to actually give one of you a Bible and just say, read it, because you will drown in this. And there's a lot of stuff in here without a lot that is not helpful, at least at surface level. Scholars scholars trying to find, there's got to be something good in this story, or in this idea. So, read me that question again. What's most important for our kids to?
What do we want to, what should we try to make sure our kids grasp as they grow up? What do we want our kids to take away from this wrestling that we do together?
So I really do think to give, help our kids grow up in a way where they tangibly see the fact that they are not alone, but they are there with others, and that they're with that which is greater than all of us, with God, and that life isn't necessarily easier and better, but it's fuller. We're more resilient. We're stronger when we bring those things together. And to root that in things that are greater than us. It does not need to be restricted to the stories in the Bible, but I think the Bible can be, is one of the great places to do that, but it's very nuanced. I mean, and to help a child go from how a 5-year-old might be hearing Bible stories to how the 13-year-old or the 18-year-old or the 21-year-old is going to hear those stories and struggle with them and fight against them and so on is really complicated. And but I think continuing to surround and listening to their questions, not trying to make them conform, allow them to rebel. I don't know, what do you?
I have some bigger people that have grown up in this, and they know that there are people who care about them, and they know it's okay to ask questions, and I feel like that's pretty huge.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of great questions coming in. You ready?
Yeah, I don't feel like I've fully done justice to that, but I probably won't to any of them. So.
Well, this is sort of related.
And by the way, you can always make appointments for me to go have a beer sometime and talk more about any of these. I'm open, if you're paying.
So, well, I think that question was a little bit about, like, what's the foundation that we're giving our kids, right? And this question is interesting. Sometimes when we say, we have a song, I don't know, you don't know, we don't know, there are no answers, it feels like there is not a strong foundation to lean on. How do we reconcile that while not being judgmental?
So I really, there's some ideas up there on the screen. I really believe in the distinction between conviction and certainty. And you hear me talk about that a lot. I talk about our two continuums. There's certainty, which uses, politely or impolitely, coercion to create conformity. Or there's conviction, which people find compelling, that creates a conversation which goes on and makes real growth, honest growth happen. And people can have real ownership of ideas and so on. And I really think the response to that is like, so we're, like, for me to say, I don't know, we don't know, is that, oh no, I'm groundless? Or does that mean, no, I think I can live in the discomfort and let things actually be what they are? Because this world is too big for you to handle. I mean, you cannot understand what is going on in this world or even in your own life. You cannot. And that doesn't mean you can't have conviction about what you believe right now and what's really important to you, and you can't work hard to articulate that and share that with other people. But as soon as you try to turn it into certainty and say, it's this way, not that way, you're probably only right in a very, very small manifestation of that idea or concept or whatever. As soon as you get beyond those boundaries, you're going to find out it doesn't work anymore. My answer no longer fits. And so conviction is squishy. We did interesting. I mean, like, we all like things straightforward and cleaned up. We don't like things messy. But many times over, I don't think we've done it just in the last couple of years, but many times over, we've had groups of people get together around fabric to figure out, like, what is the most important thing about fabric? And every time, the number one value was messy. People valued the fact that we let things be messy. That doesn't mean done poorly. That doesn't mean not thought out. That doesn't mean that we don't try hard, but we don't try to squeeze something out of who we are or what do we expect of each other or what we're trying to figure out that isn't actually there. We're willing to let it still be a little bit of a mess, even maybe a lot of bit of a mess. And, you know, I might, because I work really hard on this stuff that I prepare to talk to you about, so I may come across like really pulled together and got to get this, you know, I've got this, I'm not messy. Just ask my family. They're all there in that row. You know, it just, yeah.
So then, is there stability there? Is there okayness? Is there peace? And where does that come from?
So that's on the 21st, I'll be talking about that.
But not today.
My quick answer is, if you watch a couple dancing, I mean, something more than just the two-step, and you say, oh, they're in perfect balance, and their movement is so beautiful and so graceful. But if you take a still of them at almost any point, you would realize that is unsustainable. If they tried to stop that way, they would tip over. So their stability is in motion, is in their motion, not in that moment. And we want to find it in this moment. We want to drive a stake down right here, and that's not life. Life keeps moving. Life is changing. It's in motion. So your stability in that uncertainty is that just a confession, a letting go, and a holding on at the same time. Yeah, it's a paradox, which is more than having two piers in front of your cabin. A pair of docks. Sorry.
Okay.
I can't resist
We will
those.
miss your jokes so much.
Can I have that in writing?
Okay. Well, I think, you guys are so good. Let's just get real. I mean, this is a kind of personal question about how do you pray? How do you practice that connection, that conversation?
I tried to talk about this, what was the stuff that works, just before Christmas. I definitely use like moments when I actually stop and pray. And God box, we talk about God boxes here, like what, you know, we need a God box to be able to articulate, understand, grasp God. We just have to realize that it's temporary and it needs to keep growing. So I've got a God box, and I have language and names and stuff that I will use. I'll be within there. But to me, my goal is the biblical passage to learn to pray without ceasing. And that doesn't mean pray all the time in a formal way. It means to understand everything I do as prayer. So, you know, I get more jokes about sitting up the chairs here on Sunday morning when because I'm the chairmeister here. Who was it asked me what I was going to, Matt asked me, what are you going to do on Sunday mornings after you retire? Like, go move all the furniture in your house? I hadn't thought about that. Probably will. But really, I mean, for me, it's like, how do I turn that task into prayer? As I think about you guys, I know where you sit. I know Francis sits in that chair every time. So when I move that chair, I think of Francis. Like, how can I turn everything I do into something that is woven, right? and that I'm feeling connected with it, and there's a purpose, there's a meaning behind it. Even pain and suffering, even the hard stuff. How can those moments, how can those things be a weaving rather than just something that happened? And is that an answer? Is that a response? That's my response.
Thank you.
You can't pray enough. Yeah.
Well, here's a very practicable one. How should we think about balancing time and financial resources on our spiritual journeys, which feels selfish sometimes, versus helping others in greater need?
Go and sell all that you have and give to the poor and follow me.
Someone's really said that.
I think she's going to talk about that in 4 weeks. Yeah, that balance of generosity. When we are in the top, 5% of the world's population in terms of wealth and comfort and security, and then the extra stuff that we do to make sure we have enough of that for ourselves is really hard to balance. I wish I wish I knew how to do that myself. I do believe that your finances are a deeply spiritual question. That is not a secular, I don't believe in the split between sacred and secular. I think it's all part of one, right? So to see everything, to pray without ceasing is to see everything as sacred. And I really do believe that if your finances are out of control, then your finances are calling the shots in your life. That dollar, that job, that whatever is calling the shots in your life, not your values, not what you think your life is about, not what you want it to be about, but you're having to do what your finances dictate. So that is why we do a major thing for everyone in this community, have a budget they can live on, and help to stay on it, and a way to get out of unsecured debt and to be able to stay out of that. We don't, and we know that's always a work in process. It'll always keep going on. And then to make that budget, actually, the next step is once you get there, then you can start making your budget reflect your values more too. You can start moving it incrementally to reflect what really is important to your world and become more generous. I don't know. Open hearts, open hands, share what you can. Believe in generosity more than financial security.
Pray without ceasing, right? Yeah. I mean, it's in every moment. We want that, but I want to know the answer. I want to know the right way. Okay, we're going to zoom out a little more to a question about other faith traditions and wondering what pieces of other faith traditions, Christian and non-Christian, and other thought traditions I'm going to add to that have informed your personal journey.
Well, I grew up in the Christian tradition and went, studied that. Well, it was, learned a lot about it then in college and then in graduate school and so on, and then been practicing it. So there's no doubt about it. When it comes to all the, the great wisdom traditions that we have around our world, I know so much about this, including the languages it was written in, that I just can't work with other traditions with the fluency I can work with this. And I really do believe, as imperfect or only one manifestation of God's presence in the world that the Bible represents, there's more here than any of us can ever unpack in our lifetime. So I don't feel like I need to apologize for that. I just need to learn how to use this really well. And that means spending time with it, becoming fluent with it, asking hard questions, revisiting, talking to other people, never doing it alone. But I certainly have impacts from other religions, and religions to me, are all man-made constructions, human-made constructions. I don't think God delivered Christianity. I don't believe Jesus was a Christian, because it's an institution, right? It didn't even exist yet. So that we have institutions in our world that we use, but I think to have a really strong base somewhere is important. And for me, it's in the Judeo-Christian tradition. But I think to not let that be exclusive and to reach out, that would be probably one of my goals, to try to reach out more. It's certainly been influenced by Buddhism, Hinduism. I lived in Papua New Guinea for 7 years among people who have an animistic, I wouldn't even call it a religion, but an animistic relationship with their world, and learned an enormous amount about a completely different way of interacting with the world and the things that we would call spiritual or divine and so on. And while I didn't buy that because animistic, meaning all the world is spirit-filled, it's animated. Everything is animated. And so not necessarily, like the Papua New Guineans did not have a god. But everything had spirits and everything had meaning. It was, even saying everything had a spirit, some things did, but everything, kind of like the indigenous people in this country, everything had life that was in and of itself. And you were always related to that, and in more of a, they ask who questions, not what questions, or why questions. It's always a who, even if they're talking about the grass or the field or the animals and things like that. So no, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
My
Science and math, too, are in your background?
yes,
right?
I was a science math geek. I thought that's where I was going. You got to buy a beer to get that full question because it's too long.
Okay.
But I think it's really important. I think it's really served me well to have that background. I find it just fascinating. So. Oh, is there a clash between science and religion?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, absolutely none. I think the deeper you get into either, the more you find the other one. No, there's no clash there. But yeah.
This is an interesting one, kind of practical again, to some of the things that work around here. One of them is buses. And this person's often wondered, how many buses can or should one person be on, and does it dilute what each person brings to a bus if they're on a lot of buses? So it's kind of,
So the bus, who can name all the bus seats? I can. All right.
You're such a good student of yourself.
I am. I tell you, that Greg guy, he is so smart. Yeah, I mean, and there's nothing sacred about the bus seats. It's a conversation starter. But on your bus there are 6 seats. There's the learner, and then there's the mentee, the person who learns from you, right? So the person, your mentor, and then your learner. Then there is, now I'm going to
Stretcher.
The stretcher.
Encourager.
And the encourager. And then there is the yin to your yang, and what? Oh, geez, now I'm stuck.
Truth teller.
Truth teller, thank you, truth teller. But so I think it's really important to have all those people on your bus, the people you turn to for the right things, and you get balanced information, balanced input from people. You can be on too many buses, yeah, you definitely can. I mean, I think that's a boundary sort of thing. And you can, it's not always a lifetime assignment. I mean, maybe you just serve as someone's truth teller for a moment, one time. That's not that big a deal, but I do think you will be well served to actually be able to fill in the names of the people, and you can have more than one per seat, right, of that bus. And some that you would turn to, you might have a professional truth teller, and you might have an interpersonal truth teller, right? Those could be different kinds of roles. But I would do that, but then also, watch your boundaries, don't overdo it. Kind of fits with CARE IQ, right? And the number one question to CARE IQ is, what's my role? Thank you.
What's my role?
What's my role, right?
Okay. How does time dilation work? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
you?
I don't think it works. Fifth Amendment. What is it? What's time dilation?
I don't think it's a...
Someone just messing with me?
Yeah,
Is that you, Bjorn?
I think it might be a middle schooler. I don't know. Okay. Or a high schooler. I don't know. Okay.
All right. Shoot.
All right. Also, we do have people with microphones, Brian and Katie,
Oh, yeah.
and we didn't even invite people to you can ask live questions if you want. And also, what time do we want to end? I should know that. It's 23. Yes. Can we just dilate time somehow? And
Dilate, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go for 4 minutes.
Okay.
25 after.
If you had a magic wand to fix one misunderstanding, what would you fix?
Well, it depends on what scale we're talking. I mean, I actually have an instantaneous response to that. I mean, there's a lot of areas, but as I think about fabric, I think one of the biggest problems of trying to create fabric, which I think hundreds of thousands of people are looking for, I think tens of thousands in the Twin Cities are looking for, is the misunderstanding of what church is at all. People think it's either boring and irrelevant or crazy and dangerous. And we can't not say we're a church because that just is weird and dishonest, you know. And but we can't say we're a church without without being thrown into one of those camps. So it's really hard to get a hearing. And I wish people, if people could just hear, if people could see church as something they are, not something they go to, but believe it's just people pulling together to, you know, figure out life together. I get teary trying to talk about this in a three-stranded way. I mean, I think we couldn't build fabrics fast enough for people. I really think people are looking for this, and or versions of this, you know. So
I got few versions of this question that I actually think is related to what you just talked about, which is about heaven. And what are our hunches, what are your hunches about what life after our time on earth, would it be everlasting? Is heaven real? All the heaven questions. I mean, when we've lost somebody,
Yeah.
this matters.
yeah,
right?
no, it does.
And we've probably all lost somebody.
Yeah. So start on a lighter note. Before I started Fabric, in my early years of Fabric, I was doing a lot of teaching around the country on church transitioning and stuff, and worked with a lot of very evangelical church leaders. And I remember being at a restaurant once, and someone asked me, "Greg, do you know you're going to heaven or not?" And I said, "Well, I really don't worry about it, because if I go to heaven, that's great, because I'll be in heaven. If I don't, well, at least I'll be with all my friends." We'll see you guys there. No, you know, truly, I mean, obviously, like, God doesn't ask me these things, so, like, I don't know. I don't know, but I truly don't worry about it at all. I mean, I have no control over it. I truly I cannot see any scenario in which something like what we call hell exists. If God is all loving, then God is all loving. That's it. I mean, that's just plain it. You know, even Jesus says, you know, what parent whose child asks them for a loaf of bread will give them a stone? If your earthly father loves you that much, how much more would your, you know, heavenly Father love you? Well, my dad would never have sent me to hell, you know, or given me you know. And if God is so much better, no. You know, whatever is beyond this is going to be okay. And I don't know. I mean, we just know so much. Even this is where science and faith come together. I mean, science is starting to show us that we really have no idea what reality even is. I mean, so, you know, who knows the possibilities of what it might exist for us beyond this. I mean, the only way we can think about it is to think of some sort of human version, some really nice human thing. And I think that's fine. Go with that, but we don't know. I certainly don't worry about anything. I think it's good, but
It is good.
yeah.
You're good. Thank you, Greg.
Oh, we got a last one there.
Okay.
It's going to be really good.
And I
right
do
now.
have one last
All
one
right.
from here, too.
I'll be fast.
So this question is related to what you just said about how God is all loving. Do you think that the God of the Old Testament was fundamentally different than the God of the New Testament?
Thank you.
So I think the Bible, this is the God of the Old Testament fundamentally different than the God of the New Testament. No, I don't think so, because you really find all the New Testament themes in the Old Testament. I really believe that the Bible was the people who are trying to figure out who this God is, what this God thing is. It is the history of their discovering what God is, not you know, God's autobiography explaining this is who I am, this is what I do, and people were wrestling with all this stuff and writing their insights and evolving, and trying to figure out all these things the whole time. So I don't know, God doesn't change. What God is doesn't change, but our understanding that perceiving, our God box does. And I think if you read the Old Testament even and the New Testament as people, the evolution of understanding, a very lumpy evolution, and not everybody together, but all kinds of different strands going all different
So if
directions.
we're feeling lumpy and not all together, we're doing it.
We're doing
like
it.
they did it. Okay.
Yeah, and that's what it's like. Yeah. Does
Yeah,
that
I
make
mean, there
sense at
were
all?
a few biblical related questions, like how do we deal with the absurdity and how do we wrestle with the Bible without like all of the training that you've had and like without, I mean, yeah. So a lot of those that I'm gonna say, we're gonna set down for now.
Okay.
And then one last question, did you wear the shirt from the photo on purpose today?
I did.
All right.
Yeah, so I actually had an answer for that one.
Yeah.
Not just a response.
It was a yes
over.
and no. It was like a straightforward closed question.
Well, thank you,
right.
you guys. It feels really kind of self-indulgent to sit here and just respond to your questions about this. But yeah, let's keep it going. Send questions on to me, and I'll send questions back to you. And hopefully my responses just get you thinking, and you can involve your own thoughts, and you can talk about that when you go to your groups or at home or dinner, and have roast preacher or whatever you want. Yeah, so Ellis is going to come up and give us a little more music before we have our, yeah. And thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, Greg.
So you do have your communication cards. We'd love to hear from you, your thoughts. You can write more questions on there. You can give us your prayer concerns. We've got important things happening within our community's life right now. Most of you are giving through auto giving and so on, but if you do want to make a financial gift with those little blue envelopes, or just tell us that you would like to make one, and Katie will be in touch with you. You're welcome to do that. Stick those in those baskets and send them down here. Someone can put them by the candles. And what you got for us, Ellis?
You know,
Oh, you don't have a microphone.
Oh yeah, I don't.
Oh,
now
there
I
you
do. I think I've changed my mind. I think I want to. There's a song I want to play based on, we don't even know what reality is. Science doesn't even know.
That's-
And I just love that. And
Yeah.
I just think this is you know this song, y'all, but some of you, but I love this idea, and I feel very inspired to have been here this morning, Greg. Thank you so much for sharing and being willing. Being willing to be vulnerable and not know what pitches were coming, So, this is a little song all about that idea, that we don't know. And maybe that's okay. How would it be if everything that you thought you knew was turned upside down, opposite from your point of view? And how would you feel if the ground was really the sky? And all of this time you've been walking when you could have been flying. If you run 1,000 miles a minute, you can expect to wear out a few pairs of shoes, Doc Martens. If you forget how to love and take it for granted, you can expect to wear out people close to you. And what if all the birds were flying just to show us? And all the trees were really holding the sky up. And everything that you do matters somehow. What if heaven and hell was right now? How would it be if you really created your life? Stories you told, the good and bad, that they come alive. And how would it change if your words were like nails and wood? You build your house, but you forget that it's just a house. You can rebuild it, and we can rebuild it. So What if all the birds were flying just to show us? And all the trees were really holding the sky up. And everything that you do matters in the end. What if all of our mistakes are forgiven? What if love is a lot of listening, a little bit of time, not pretending we are caught up in a world of daydreams? What if loving what you have is everything? What if all the birds were flying just to show us? And all the trees were really holding the sky up. And everything that you do matters so much. How would we change our lives? Oh yeah. Ooh. How would it be if everything that you thought you knew was turned upside down, opposite from your point of view? Thank you so much, y'all. And I just feel so inspired and just really because it is really messy, isn't it? And you know what? Maybe we don't have to have it all figured out. And even I like the idea of the God box. That's really cool. It's just this idea that we know what we know when we know it, but then, you know, we find out something new. And then it doesn't work. Or maybe something else works better. So this is a song that's really all about the boxes we have, the boxes we put other people in. And it's got a little sing-along part at the end. That's why I thought it would be a good one to end with today. And hopefully you'll find it joyful. Every day we have to choose one or two boxes. Even before we're born, they ask pink or blue. What side of the store do you shop on? What salon or barber? Will they say your name and the pronouns you use? Oh yeah, oh not everyone fits into a tux or a prom dress. Not everyone has the right box to check that makes sense. You might not understand if you find it easy to choose a restroom without making someone angry. Oh, right? What if one size fits all doesn't fit you at all? Everything is made for bodies smaller than you. It's always the same advice: exercise and eat less, tying all your troubles to the weight you could lose. Oh yeah, oh not everyone fits into a tux or a prom dress. Not everyone is a model on a magazine rack. If beauty standards changed, then it would be easy to try on any look or style that makes you feel fancy, which I think is really important. What if the way you are is not the right way to be? Who you love or where you live or what you believe. You're either not enough or too much. The pressure is intense when the way you think and talk is neurodivergent. Oh, not everyone fits into a tux or a prom dress. Oh, not everyone has the right box to check that makes sense. Could we make room for everyone to belong? 'Cause y'all, aren't we all better off being true to who we are? Not everyone fits, so this is where you would come in. Not everyone fits, not everyone fits into a tux or a prom dress. Not everyone fits. Ooh, not everyone fits. Not everyone fits into a tux or a prom dress. We'll repeat that. Not everyone fits into a tux or a prom. One more time. Not everyone fits into a tux or a prom dress.
Thank you, Ellis. That's why we love having you with us. Not everyone fits. I mean, that's why, you know, all this uncertainty that we talk about, all that instability and stuff like that, but if we can't learn to live in that middle so that there is a place we can all fit, and sometimes we have to define it ourselves with the support of the people that love us. I mean, yeah, that's just how it works, and we'll all be better and healthier, and this world will be better. At this point, I would say go and weave some good fabric, and we'll see you next week. But we've got a vote coming up for Ian McConnell as our lead pastor, and I'm just passing this off now to, I think, is it Karen and Charles? So come on up here and lead us through this, and I just want you to know that I think we're really fortunate to have Ian as a candidate, whatever that might happen to mean. So, great.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging around. So if you need to run, if you're not a regular, feel free to kind of make your way out. We're just gonna keep going through here without a break to, we know there's kids to feed and football to watch and stuff like that, so we're gonna try and be quick. But I'm making some space here because I'd like actually not the search team, you'll be next, but the folks who served on the transition team, come stand on this rug. I know some of you are here. Transition team, not the search team. This was a big process. This was about identifying who we are as a group, who we are as a community, some of the alignment and things like that. A few folks up here now, a few folks who were part of this team, not here today, but this was the start of a big process. So y'all can go sit down, unless you're on the search team, in which case stick around, Eric. And now if the members of the search team could come down, that'd be great, and they'll stick around here for another minute. But my role, so my name is Charles. I serve as the president of the Fabric Board, and my role today is really to convene this meeting of all of you as the Fabric community. So we need a couple things to come into the light a little bit more. Come into the lights. Come on over. So my role is to convene you. We need two things today. We need 40 regulars, and it looks like we've got at least 40 regulars. The other thing we need is a 2/3 vote result in order to call a pastor. So glad to see all of you here. In your packet today, there is a ballot. So if you dig that out, raise your hand if you already submitted it in the baskets, and we'll kind of dig it out of there. Okay, sounds good. So in there is a ballot. You can take a look at that, and you'll notice there's a motion on there, and we want to give you a little bit more context for that in case you weren't able to make it to the meeting on Thursday. That about 50 of us got together at the Fabric office and met with Ian, talked with Ian. Similar thing online on Friday, and then a pretty long email, but a really good email that came out yesterday. And then today, of course, the vote. So let's learn a little bit more about Ian, our candidate. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Karin.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Hi, I am Karin, and I can't believe we are at this moment. But you've heard about the long journey of 2 years. But this team, the search team, has been at this for over 6 months, and it has been such an honor to work with them. It has been just truly amazing. And I think what's important for you all to know is this group of people, when we started working together in our many, many, many hours together, we very quickly realized how diverse our backgrounds and beliefs were, and the different aspects of fabric that were important to each of us varied quite a bit, even just within these 10 people. So I think that's really important for you to know. And with that diversity on our team came a lot of important questions, a lot of deep discussions about who we are as Fabric and what we're looking for in our next leader. And although we knew we weren't an exact representation of all of you in the Fabric community, we very much held the weight and awesome responsibility of knowing that we were representing you, and we are very grateful for your trust in us to make this decision. The whole search process also really deeply reinforced what a unique and special community we have here, and that we truly are doing church in a different way than other people are experiencing. What seems very normal to us here is not normal. And what was common among all of us is our deep love for this community and the value that it brings to our life, and that we want it to continue to exist for even more people to become a part of it. We did have a nationwide search and interviewed candidates from all over, and we interacted with some really inspiring and amazing people. It was, however, very challenging to find a leader because we are such a unique community. And yet, despite the unique requirements to be a leader of an experimental church like Fabric and all of our diverse opinions, we have unanimously and enthusiastically chosen Ian McConnell to be our next leader. Yes. So I will just briefly share how Ian aligns with some of our core values that you see hanging up here behind us. One of the first things that we noticed, and I'm sure you've noticed if you've interacted with him, is his warmth and humor. Very early on in our first interview with him, we were laughing right away and have continued to with every interaction we've had with him since. At the Thursday night gathering, I heard as Ian and Rachel traveled to each table, like laughter erupting at each table that they were at. And he very intentionally chooses fun and joy and whimsy in his work and interactions with others. And in his interviews and past work experience, he has demonstrated how he thinks big, and he is very willing and enthusiastic to take on conversations about our real messy lives and our real messy world. His sample message that he provided for us aligned so well with the kinds of conversations that we get to have here. He has also demonstrated that he is comfortable with braving uncertainty and taking risks. He brought some really creative and innovative approaches to his more traditional church setting. So just imagine what he can do in a place like Fabric, where he is met with that creativity and innovation. It's matched and embraced and supported. And finally, in all of our conversations with people who've worked with Ian in the past, choosing connection and collaboration and authenticity are just a foundational part of who he is and how he operates in the world. And kids, he has done a lot of work with children, and you are also going to love him, so that is very important. We felt very clear that Ian understands what we are all about here at Fabric, and he is very excited to be a part of its next chapter. And I think what is so beautiful is that this experiment of Fabric that was created 17 years ago was intentionally designed to be evolving and growing and changing. And we are in the midst of that next big change right now, and we get to do this together. So thank you. And
Well, thank you, Karen, and thank you to the search team. You know, we have no idea what the level of work and effort and dedication that they've put in. We get a glimpse of it, but big round of applause for the search team. Okay, you guys can sit down if you want. All right, so you have the ballot. If you don't have a ballot and you haven't voted yet, raise your hand. There was an electronic means of voting. I think we got about 7 folks who voted online, so we were able to do that too. If you could please fill out your choice for the motion. Again, if you're wondering what a regular fabric is, if you think you're a regular, you're a regular. The Constitution says that people 18 and older can vote. We're not checking birth certificates, so we'll just say that. And then if you could put your completed ballot into the white baskets and pass it along, and then bring them up. We're actually going to tabulate them right now. And if you can hang around, we'll let you know, because there might be a surprise then too. Question?
If our guardian, if my husband, partner, if my partner is homesick, they ask me to vote for them?
Yes, so you are allowed to vote by proxy in the Fabric Constitution. So if you need another ballot, let us know. We'll be back momentarily with results. So as we wait for the results, just a quick note. I always really love when Ellis comes and does the music. And Ellis, actually, if you love Ellis's music, there's actually some CDs and things available. So 5. So the first 5 to come down here, come check it out. They're also online. Okay, so we have results. Thanks for your patience as we pulled things together. So actually, what this becomes, as a ELCA church, it's a letter of call. So in these days, what better way to do a call than to actually do a Zoom call? And let's do a quick Zoom call, and let's get Ian on the line here. So bear with us as well. Oh, there he is. Hello.
Hi.
So I'm gonna come back and actually join the. Ian, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Charles.
All right. Now can you see me?
Yeah, hi.
Well, we have a room full of people. We don't have a great way to show you all of them, but we got a big room of folks here, and we actually wanted to share the results of our vote. So we did the quick recap, and then we took a vote. And the motion is to call Ian as our pastor, and voting for the motion, we have 68, and against the motion, we have 0. We have 100%.
Wow. Thank you all. Thank you so much. I'm blown away. That's great news. I'm so glad that you exist as a community, and I can't wait to join what you're up to.
All right. Well, thank you, Ian, and we'll get you some of the documentation here, and we'll see you next month. But really excited for you to join us, and quick round of applause for Fabric and for Ian. And that'll wrap things up today. So again, many thanks to all of you, and for the search team, one more time.